Yeah,
And
they
they
were
really-
like, okay, I got some OCD. So now I can still my life.
I love that.
I gotcha. Well, our class today, we thought of, because scripts are great, right? I mean, a lot of you already know scripts are amazing. They were a game changer for me in my real estate career. But the process in learning the scripts was the most obnoxious thing on the planet for me. And it was like the format in which I took classes or any kind of group mastermind we did. It was always like, here's the script, partner up, recite the script back and forth, or make calls. And I don't know why, but for me, it never worked. It never worked. I needed the scripts. I needed to understand the message that I was supposed to portray or what I was trying to accomplish. But just verbatim reading it never worked for me. It always worked better for me doing it backwards, like understanding the message, what are you trying to do, and then just practicing having the conversation in your own different ways. Yeah.
Right. Or I would have the script and know exactly what I was going to say, and then I would get a listening appointment, and they would throw me off because it's something completely different.
Yeah.
Or they would go into the reason they're selling is because my husband just passed away. And, I mean, and then the scripts are just out the window.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's important not to just memorize like a robot what you're going to say and understand the purpose of the delivery
Absolutely.
more than anything. So, I mean, we named it the language of real estate, I guess because of that. Like scripts are always going to be a part of what we do, but it's really more about the communication aspect of it than anything.
Yeah.
And I think there's multiple different stages in real estate where language and how you communicate with maybe your potential clients on the phone or in person. Once you're in a buyer consultation or a listing appointment, it's a totally different message and objective and what you're trying to do, all the way to the closing table.
Right.
With overcoming objections or possible problems with the deal. So really, I wanted to get an idea from you guys on what your questions are. If you have anything that you want to kind of us to talk about while you're in here, any obstacles you've had to overcome or any objections you've gotten from clients or potential clients that kind of stumped you and you didn't know how to handle. And the biggest message I want to get across is I want to get us away from that robotic script practice.
Right.
I want us to understand it's just a conversation. It's a fluid conversation. And the number one thing, it's about them. It's always about them, about them.
It's
And
more
I-
important. Sometimes it's more important about what they have to say, not what you have to say.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's more about listening, finding out what their motivation is, or what they need, or difficulties they have in buying, or with the last contract they did, or problems like that. So it's a lot more about the ears than the mouth, and then the conversation can go in the direction they needed to go in. That you're going to lead them the best direction they need to go.
And also
As
not
opposed
only
to
just
telling them.
language with the clients, but language for other agents too.
Yep.
There's seasoned agents that if you don't have, I'm not saying that you have to be a seasoned agent to talk to a seasoned agent, but there's
Yeah,
certain
you don't.
things that you're getting ready to present an offer, you could say to let them know like, oh wow, she really knows what she's talking about, and just having those key terms to use with other agents too.
Right.
Yeah. So for you guys, what's your biggest challenge in communication? Let's start with lead gen. Let's start with talking to potential clients. What's your biggest challenge in having those conversations right now?
My biggest challenge is finding out, who to start with. I'm just kind of doing circle prospecting and geo lead, just kind of going out and picking an area and just start calling, and then you don't know, right? If I know it's expired, then maybe it's an expired conversation, but other than that, it's just,
How
hey,
do
I'm
you,
just
how do
seeing
you
if
start that inspired conversation?
it expired.
Mhm.
Typically just, hey, I just see that your property that you had listed has expired with the listing agent. I'm just seeing if I can help you out in any way with that. I can get it and help you get it sold.
Do you know how I start my inspired conversation? Hey, this is Janine with Keller Williams. I am so sorry to see that the market's failed you.
Oh, no.
So
Yeah,
I
that's
start-
good. I like that.
And then they generally will start talking and then ask me why I think the market failed them. And that's
That's
so easy to lead right into. Well, I think you were given the wrong advice and the list price. And so I think that's where the market failed you. Or you started, so if you've done your investigation and see that it started way overpriced, then they brought it down. Others are chasing the market. You can go into that as well.
And I I do, what she said is I do my research first, because 9 times out of 10, you'll be able to figure out why it didn't sell just by looking at the MLS.
And knowing your average days on market.
But even if I already have it figured out, I call and say, hey, Mr. Seller, are you aware that your house, the listing on your house just expired?
Absolutely.
9 times out of 10 also, they have
They
no
don't know.
idea.
Yeah,
Their
the sign's
agent
probably
hasn't
in the same yard.
communicated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sign's still in the yard.
Sign's still in the yard, and they're like, no, it's not. No, it's not. I'm like,
Yeah.
it absolutely is. Well, I'm sorry, you might want to communicate with your agent, but it is showing up on our hot sheet as expired.
Yep.
And then I say, from your perspective, why do you think your property hasn't sold by now? Because the market is really hot right now. Average days on market is this. From your perspective, why do you think it hasn't sold? And the reason I do that is because with expireds, they already have immediate or experience with agents. So you're trying to figure out what their how their feelings are based
Right.
on that experience. They'll answer what their hiccups are with agents in that
They'll tell you.
in that question. They'll be like, well, my agent never called me. There was no feedback. I never heard from him. Put the sign in the yard. He never called me.
Yep.
After
He never
showing,
showed it.
He never showed it. It was that's a big thing I always heard from
Mhm.
expireds is I hired this listing agent to sell my property and they didn't show it once.
Right.
You know, it was all these RE/MAX agents or all these
That's right,
EXP
that's right. And
agents.
there's another conversation for that too.
I'm not in the room to do.
You know, I made a living on expireds when I first got in the real estate business. And for sale by owners too. And the surprising part was when I knocked on their door, the first thing I would say to them is, I know the last thing you need to see or hear from is another realtor. I'm sure you've been covered up with phone calls and people knocking on your door. And you know what the answer was? 9 times out of 10, no, really, you're the first person who stopped on. Everybody thinks that everybody's doing it, but not everybody's doing it.
Right. And so you would go to them in person, like just knock on the door?
If I see a for sale by owner, I pull in the driveway and I go and I knock on their door. I absolutely do.
Now, one thing I will say about FSBOs right now, it's not that they don't need us, it's that they're selling their house as quickly
Yes.
as everything else is selling. And they might be selling it for less than they would had they hired a realtor. But by the time we get to them, they're already under contract for the most part.
Right.
So I wouldn't stop calling those FSBOs, but I would probably spend more time on old expired.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
6 months or more expired. And new home communities that are in that 2.5, 3 year cycle of being built, because statistically, that's the rate when people buy new home construction. 2.5 to 3 years, they're ready to put it back on the market. And it's for different reasons.
And also knowing stats, like my coach told me this morning, on an average, FSBOs sell their house for $55,000 less than what an agent could. Not just necessarily getting it under contract, but what they do is when they negotiate repairs or closing costs or other things to keep the train on the track. But knowing those quick things that for me, when I work FSBOs or expires, number one is getting to their motivation.
Right.
If they've got their house just out there fishing because they've heard it's a seller's market, I'm probably not going to waste my time with that for sale by owner because they're not motivated.
And that's the key, is getting to their pain, really. And you won't get that answer after the first question.
Right.
It's the art, and it really is an art, or at least I feel like it is, why are you moving?
Yep. Where are you going?
Yeah.
When you
And
gotta
then
be there.
what happens if you don't get there by that time frame? What does that look like for you? Get to the real pain of their situation and their real motivation, and then bring in your solution.
And lots of times you don't have that conversation with them, and what you're missing out on is a listing and a referral for where they're going to.
Exactly. Or a buyer.
Yeah, because they're going somewhere.
And that's tied into making it about them.
Yes.
And I think that's the hardest thing for new agents, just because it was hard for me 20 years ago, is I thought I had to talk about me. I thought I was selling me, and what I did and the office I worked for, and it's, what marketing pieces I was going to do. Don't get me wrong, that's important, but it's not important to everybody.
That's right.
So you got to find out what's important to them first before you can give a solution. You might be selling them on something they don't give a crap about, and you've wasted your time, and they're going to call the next guy. So, I really think that's the key to everything. And in my job still now, being out of production, talking to other agents, working with our company bring a benefit to your business and your lifestyle. If, figuring out what the pain is, and if we have a solution for it, then great. If we don't, then, you're not the place for us. Right. Same thing in selling, but it's harder for us as new agents because we want a closing, right?
That's right.
You want to get to the closing table and start building your business. So, It's hard to turn that switch off as a new agent.
Mhm.
And I don't know the trick to doing that, but
Yeah.
there's a trick to it.
Yeah, there is. It's the hardest thing to do is tell somebody
Mhm.
you've got the nerve, you've done your research, you've got everything together, you show up before the appointment, and you get in and their price is just crazy long. And no matter what you say, or no matter what you show them, they're not gonna come down on that price. Well, let's just put it out there and see what they say. Who wants to waste their time with something so overpriced? And it's so hard to say, you know, I wish you the best of luck in getting your house sold. I just don't think that we're a good fit, or I'm sorry, I just can't take this price point. With your house being what I feel is overpriced for the market, I just don't have room in my inventory for it right now. And then to walk out the door, I'm just like,
It's hard, but I'll tell you, the other option is you have a sign in the yard, yeah, but you build a bad reputation for
Yeah,
yourself
right.
and your business because you don't know how to sell a house. And you end up with the highest maintenance seller you've ever had.
They're the
That
worst.
exhaust your time and
Mhm.
yeah, and you'll get offers for the market value and they won't even entertain it. It's the biggest waste of your time.
It is.
I think everybody learns that the hard way though.
Absolutely.
And that's what I always say, the 3 Ps, price, presentation, and promotion. And I never really go heavy on promotion and marketing, because if it's overpriced, it doesn't matter how much you market it.
It's not gonna make a
gonna
difference.
sell.
Yep.
And they're always gonna say, well, marketing, well, price is gonna be probably the issue 9 times out of 10. But they're not gonna wanna talk about that, because they're not gonna wanna bring the price down. They're gonna want you to work harder to sell it.
Yeah.
Than bring the price
Yeah,
down.
because you can make anything happen. with a realtor.
And the way and that's always my listing presentations, although after so many years, you don't have a presentation, you don't even go with it. You might go with stuff to leave them,
Mhm.
but it's a simple conversation, just
That's
like
right.
Wendy said.
It
You know,
is.
and when we would start with, okay, there's really 3 main factors in getting your house listed and sold. Wouldn't you agree that one of them is price? The biggest thing is probably price, and the market controls the price. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Seller?
Mhm.
Because they'll say, well, really, I control the price. I set what we listed at. Absolutely, you do. But the market determines what it actually
Yeah,
sells
what your
for.
house is worth. Yeah.
Yeah. When you say condition or presentation, like you said, that falls on you, Mr. Seller. I'm here to advise you of what the best condition of the property can be to sell your house the quickest amount of time for the most amount of money. When you say that falls on you to get your house in the right condition. Everything else marketing, that's on me. And if you want to know about it, here's what we do for marketing.
I don't even talk about marketing.
You really don't have to anymore.
You write contracts with auto price reductions.
I say after 14 days, or after statistics show 6 to 8 showings, you should have an offer. If not, we need to discount the price. So it's all about expectation and having that conversation with them up front. You don't list it and then say, oh, well, we need to drop the price later. I go ahead and tell them if it hasn't sold in X amount of days or after so many showings, we've got to drop the price.
Do you have them sign a form? I used to
I
have them
need-
sign
I
an
need-
agreement
I
in
need
addition.
Yeah.
And
used
I
to
had
do
a
my-
schedule.
Yeah, I did my seller's net sheets. I did the same thing you did. I did their net sheets, and it was just like
I
2
should.
weeks, if we don't have any showings, we're going to this price. And then I would do it like on 30-day increments, and it was signed. So that date they knew we're reducing to this price, and I already had everything
And then it's
signed.
not a question after 2 weeks, right? It's a reminder, hey, just a reminder, the price dropped. Per our agreement, the price dropped to this today.
Mhm.
Let's hope we get some more showings, we get an offer coming in.
Let's hope you get realistic.
Because what'll happen is if you just have the conversation.
Please, dear God, get realistic.
Exactly, but what happens if you just have the conversation, then when you go back and say, remember, we need to reduce the price, but like, no, I know I said that, but I'm not ready to do it. Let's just give it another week because
Every time.
this last 3 guys were so interested.
Yep.
Yeah, they
Every
didn't write an
single
offer.
time. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't get it ahead of time.
It's a game changer if you have them sign that.
Yeah,
I need to start doing that.
great.
So what about, okay, so lead generating. I think it looks different now than it has in the past. Like I said, FISBOs, I've never been the type of person that just likes to cold call a list. There's results in it, but it's just not my personality. I do it, but I do everything else first. And I'm like, okay, I gotta do this. When you're calling leads, so we got FISBOs, expireds, who else are you guys calling? Somebody else?
Yeah, friends and family, ex, co-workers.
Who's talking? I can't see who's zoomed in.
Me, Rebecca.
Hey, Rebecca. So Rebecca, what does that conversation look like for you?
Actually, it was mostly Keith, but, it was, I haven't spoken with you in a while. Keith, do you want to jump in here? You know, how have you been?
Yeah, just, remind them that life is full of changes for you and your kids, and if you guys decide you want to do something, keep me in mind, here's my info, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, that's great.
You know, kind of like, guess what I'm doing now?
Yeah, look what I'm doing.
Did you guys ever run into when you're calling your SOI, when you just get into real estate and you're like, I haven't talked to this person in 3 years, but now suddenly I'm gonna
Oh, yeah.
call them?
And you look needy and
Yeah.
they don't care.
Right?
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
like, oh, great, now you're calling me just because you want business.
Yeah.
I always reversed it. And I was like, hey, I know we haven't talked in 2 years, and I'm so sorry for that. I suck at keeping in touch with people. And I'm calling for a business reason. So, for a specific reason, I'd love to talk about that real quick and get that out of the way, and I'd love to hear how your family's doing. That way, you don't call and go, hey, how you doing? How have you been? They feel so special. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe Tanya called me. This is amazing. What a great friend. And then at the end, you like bamboozle them.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, by the way, if you know anybody looking to buy or sell real estate, blah, blah, blah. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
A great script that I used that I got business from doing the same thing was I was completely honest. And when I was in Asheville, we had a ton of people from Florida come in, which nobody really wanted people from Florida to move there. No offense, but it was just a big thing. Everybody called them Floridians.
no offense.
And so I say, hey, instead of helping all of these strangers move here, I'm going to be a better friend and I want to help you guys. Do you know, like, if anybody that I can help, or can I help you before I help other people? And that would like totally, every time I think they would feel special, being like, oh, she's trying to help her friends and help people that are already here than helping strangers move here. And
The outsiders.
exactly. But,
Yeah.
the good thing for New York that would move to Florida, they were called halfbacks, and then they would move halfway back. But that would always just sincere, like, look, I'm just going to take care of my people first before I take care of strangers, and I need to be better at checking in with my people and just be sincere about it, be honest.
I think the magic to that is being relatable.
Yeah.
Connecting with them on a way that you know that they're going to feel special and important. It's just, I mean, and you can do that in so many different
Because
ways.
if you do the, oh, I drove by your house, I thought about you. Well, you drive by my house every day. Why haven't you reached out in the last 3 years?
Exactly.
You just want something. You're reaching out to me because you just want something.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
people can read through that.
Heck yeah.
I get them from the Arvine girls all the time. People like high
Is that
school
still
girls,
around?
or whatever they're selling?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I try to give them the benefit of the doubt because that was usually what I was doing with real estate. And I'm like, you haven't been thinking about me since high school. Let's cut to the chase. And then I script them and I try to sell them on real estate before they ask me. So it's gotten
That's
really
true.
good.
I like your way of thinking too, where it's like everyone always wants to choose their neighbors because no one wants to live by like people who are like the worst.
That's exactly it.
It's like, hey, there's this house for sale. Like, do you know anyone who wants to live there first? Like, giving you the chance
That's
to like pick your neighbor.
Great,
That's
just
right.
listed,
That is
yeah,
a
great
great
script, great, just listed script.
More so than like you don't want someone like awful,
Yep.
like moving in next door to
Yep.
you have to like deal with for the next like 10, 20 years.
That's a
You say
great,
have a buyer who's just a real pain in my ass.
Yeah.
Looking at this house.
Like, let's get
Do you know somebody else we can sell it to?
Well, this
No,
is kind of
that's not a good script, by the way.
Hey, I was right.
Not to say.
Just
It's
saying,
like people
yeah.
who get the chance who like already live there.
Oh, yeah.
That's right, and then maybe looking to move and
And
say,
then
you
we'll
know
take
what, my
the
husband's been
property
transferred, we gotta put our house on the market in 6 months. And you stop by and talk to them and there's just, that's just thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a ton of business you can get from that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. Starting that conversation.
Just
Yeah,
listed
it's a
script.
good trick too with when you're hosting an open house. Go door knock and personally invite the neighbors to come 30 minutes prior to the open house, the public start time, and just say you want a private viewing, and if you know of anybody who would want to move to the neighborhood and buy this house and they feel special, because they're going to come be nosy anyways,
Right.
and you'd rather know when they're coming so they don't take up your time during the open house from really prospective buyers. So personally invite them an hour, 30 minutes prior to, give them special treatment. And that results in two things too. They'll say, dang, that agent works hard for the houses she lists. I'm gonna use her, and you'll get more listings in that neighborhood. Yeah, it's a great. idea.
Anybody do like pre-foreclosures or?
That's a good one, I did that before. Well,
I've
I'll
been trying to
call
figure
and
out how
I'll
to get
say,
those.
if you see the curtains pulled and the grass getting higher, you call me, because the last thing we wanna do is something go under and affect your property value. And they'll be like, wait, what? What? You want, that's gonna affect my, how's it gonna affect my property value? It is fear-based, but it gets people like, oh, well, I know that they're getting divorced or so-and-so hadn't paid their mortgage in a couple months. I don't want that to happen, so let's maybe try to sell the house before. If the grass starts getting high, it's usually
Themselves, as opposed to some lead generations.
just geophonic, just knowledge.
We're admiring your earrings.
Yeah,
from
it's like
the
I
front.
just-
They're avocados.
I was like, yeah, those are earrings are on
A buyer
flowers.
bought these for me for our closing.
That's pretty funny. They gave you a closing gift. I love that.
That's well done. It happens a lot. They really got me. But yeah,
Foreclosures haven't really been a thing.
No.
The past 4 years.
And not,
And I'm not seeing them now, still, even post-COVID. But don't you guys have buyers that reach out to you and go, I'm just looking for foreclosures, where can I find them? I'm like, you can't. And even now, if you do have one, the banks, it's not a steal like it was in the past. The banks are selling them for market value. So that's another way to educate your buyers too. Everybody's under the impression if it's pre-foreclosure, foreclosure, that they're gonna get it for steal and they come in and lowball it. That's not the case.
sorry, I know one foreclosure and a subdivision, I kept watching it, wait to see what was gonna happen. And the bank actually had people go in, and every time I went by, there were different people there. Went on the market and looked in the windows. And I mean, they went in and cleaned the whole place up and painted it and updated
Yeah.
some stuff. I'm like, banks generally don't do this.
They are now.
But they know what the market is right now. They can get all their money.
All right, so let's talk about the language you use with the other agents, with your co-op agents. How important do you guys think that is?
Very important.
Any best practices you do or have done?
I find with Keller Williams, we love our acronyms. Not all agents know what we're talking about, whether it be STR, short-term rental, CNRs, covenants and restrictions.
Yeah, they don't know. They
And
don't.
because Keller Williams, we love acronyms. I like it because it helps me remember what things are too.
Yeah.
In, acronym, but not all agents do.
They
And
don't, and I'm one of those.
Mhm.
Don't give me an acronym. Tell me what you're talking about.
Yep. So sometimes I have to catch myself, the lingo that we use within the market center, go out and just maybe spell it out for other agents
Yeah.
instead of being lazy like I
So when you guys have a buyer and you're submitting an offer on their listing, is there ever anything that goes along with the offer for you guys? I would always do, I would do a separate email, or I would have a cover letter with my offer that it would say how excited I am to be presenting this offer on my buyer's behalf. You know, I'm so excited about working with you. This is going to be so fun. And I'd give little tidbits about my clients, just little snippets about, maybe something they liked about the house, or if I knew something about the seller, something they could relate to the seller, and then present the offer. And I would call before I press send and say, hey, I'm sending an offer your way, and send it when I was on the phone with them. Can't get them, just shoot a text and say that. The relationship you have with that other agent is super important.
Yep, it is.
From every point once you go under contract, because if they don't like you,
Yeah.
they will make your life a living hell.
They will. Or they just
Or they
won't
will never
communicate
sell
with
your
you.
house again.
Yeah, or they just won't communicate with you.
And you want to have a
Makes
good
it difficult.
relationship because it's professional, right? We're a professional company. We teach our agents to be professional, but you're gonna have to work with these people in the future. So down the road, if you have a listing and bad word spreads much quicker than positivity. So you don't want, negativity about your name going out because it spreads quickly, especially now on social media.
Yeah.
So just keep that relationship positive. Also, once the deal's done, I always wrote a thank you note and mailed it to the other agent. Thanks so much for,
That's so good.
working with, and when I did that down here, agents would call me like, oh my God, I forgot your house. This is the first thank you note I've got.
Yeah.
I didn't put a gift in there. It was just a little
So
note.
thank you. It
It
speaks
was a
volumes.
pleasure working with you. Look forward to getting more deals in the future.
Yeah.
So,
That's priceless. It really is.
I've gotten to the point, it takes up a lot of time, but it's been very helpful. When I get showings on my listing, I call the agent and thank them for showing my house. I let them know that the covenants and restrictions and all the documents on their MLS are attached. If I can help in any way, I'd love to work with you. And it's been, some people, of course, don't have time and I just leave a voicemail, but sometimes I talk to people and it's just really nice to talk to the other agent.
Yeah.
About it.
Oh my
This
goodness.
is just peeking
I
around
do
the
too.
corner.
I was just listening.
Oh, okay.
Please do what Wendy just said, because whenever, when I'm a buying agent, having to go and stop and find
the bylaws and covenants of HOAs and things like that, because the selling agent is, I don't know, the number's on there, I don't have it, no,
It's
you'll have
just
to call.
easier.
Do you do
And
that
when I'm
after the showing or before the showing?
I put all of my, we do public record, you can go find homeowners.
Yeah, no, but I mean,
Yeah.
the phone call to the agent.
Oh, I do it before.
I do it too.
I do it before.
Yeah.
It's really helpful.
I put it, and people, sue a guy, a Remax agent. He said, I know when I show your listing that you're gonna have your ducks in a row. And that you're always, and it's gonna be like that from the
Right.
whole thing,
Right.
because you go ahead and you're so helpful from the beginning.
Yeah.
And you think if he's showing 5 houses that day, and mine's 6, he's gonna remember that, because which house he's gonna try to sell.
That's
That's
right,
right.
that's right. And it's saving you a ton of time and a ton of phone
Yes,
calls.
yep. And then have the email.
They're not calling, going,
and
yeah, I
then-
need this, and I need that.
You
And then-
attach
Or
it
if
to
it
the
has
website.
rental income, you already have a little
Oh, yeah.
attachment or something like
Yeah,
that, that's
it's
always
our
helpful.
job. It really
It
is our
is.
job.
It is our job.
It's your
Absolutely right,
listing,
yeah.
get all the information you can, you
To
know,
help sell the house.
to help get the house.
I'll
Yeah.
even ask sometimes what's really important to their clients. Sometimes it's cause people not wanna look because they had to have a privacy fence. And
Oh,
sometimes
yeah.
they say that, is the bathroom big enough or something, and I'm able to tell them
To
about
let
it.
them know that, yeah, that is.
Because it's so impersonal now with the showing time.
Yeah.
You know, you get a notice, you say you're gonna show it, you may never talk to that agent. And
Or
then
they give you
that personal
feedback
touch
more
makes a
often.
huge
Have you noticed
Yep,
that?
they
They're
should
more
be, because you
active.
build a personal rapport with them instead of sitting across the table, you're sitting beside the table with them, that's what I always say. But like, if you go ahead and do that, they'll more than likely give you feedback, because that's what we really want, is
Right,
feedback for them to sell the seller that their house is a dump or it's a.
Yeah, that's right. I told you it was too much money.
But it does make it a lot helpful, and it just people will understand, like, but you will have agents that will still be like, do you have the homeowners association covenants restrictions? They're attached there on MLS, yep, and then he loved like that.
Well, you know why they ask is because most listing agents down here,
They
you
don't
guys
do
are the rare breed if you do that.
Yeah.
You make yourself stand out.
That's
Answer your, the 2 things you can do to knock it out of the park in Baldwin County. Answer your damn phone and be a good listing agent and put all the appropriate docs on the listing.
I've been shocked at that. Calling these agents.
It's unbelievable.
Can't get
Oh,
it.
yeah,
You can get
straight
an
from the
answer.
mountaintop, it's unbelievable. It is so nerve wracking to be sitting and writing an offer and then them go, oh yeah, and then you're having to go, oh yeah, and then you gotta go find the number, then you gotta hope and pray the HOA calls you back,
Right.
or things like that. It's just make it easy.
$1 million
here's our-
listing agent called him. He texted me back, I'm sorry, I'm too busy. Is anything on fire? No, just got some questions. Gave me the seller's number and asked me to call the seller.
Wow.
That's
$1
amazing.
million listing.
Okay, here's a crazy thought. If you're putting all that stuff in the
I
MLS,
can't
the
believe
people,
I called that seller too.
the people who are showing your properties are seeing how professional you are, how you have everything in there you need, and how easy you are to work with. How easy would it be to get that agent in your downline and have them come work with you and learn how to be a professional as well?
Totally.
Or
Can I
work with
get
you
an
just because-
amen?
Amen.
Something I do on that note, sorry, this is Sarah, with everything putting it like in the MLS, for our listings, we have listing binders of all of the information, including seller's disclosure, average utilities, covenants and restrictions, feature sheets of like details about the house. So we have that for showings, but it's also helped a lot for appraisals too, for the appraiser to see on the counter already what the age of the roof and the HVAC, all of that's new. If they've updated the countertops and the appliances and everything like that, it's right there. So when they're looking at the house, all of their questions are already answered. So we don't get those questions like, you know, can you send us the restrictions? It's right there. And then they also know that it's in the MLS because it's already accessible to them. So it's helped a lot to like save time
That's great,
and
Sarah.
look professional too.
That's great, Sarah.
Sellers love it.
Your time, like answering questions.
Mhm.
And it's a good thing too to add, because you know you'll have these sellers who have put a lot of money into their house and they hurt their house big time. 'Cause They built this and they built that and they added this. So ask them for pre and post pictures.
Right.
And so they can show in there kind of what it looked like before, and that might bring more value to this,
Right.
to the buyers when they're looking at it. Because otherwise it's like, I don't care if you built it, it's there now, so
Yeah.
it might mean more to you than it does me, you know?
And we
So-
include if they have a survey, but if they don't have a survey, we'll include the plat map as well. So that while they're at the house, if it's a larger property or a smaller property, they can take that book outside with them and see, okay, that tree line is the line or whatever. and it's all right there. I don't want to trust the other agent on the other side to have that information with them for the showing. If I know it, just provide it. It's going to help their seller.
That's right, that's right.
Sarah, do you create a book like that to leave at the home as well?
Yeah, that's what it is. It's a
Is it-
list.
oh, right. Yeah.
So it stays on the kitchen counter, and all of my sellers know when you have a showing, leave it on the kitchen counter. The agent showing the property, I reach out to them ahead of time and say, hey, make sure you see the binder on the kitchen counter. So it's fixed.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah,
It's awesome. I've seen it before at her houses. Especially when we did open houses. It's, ooh, this is Sarah's.
Yeah,
There's
when
the
things
binder.
could stay on the market long enough to do an open house for caravan.
Absolutely, yeah. Like if Caravan was
Oh,
on
back in
Tuesday.
the day.
Yeah, Caravan was on Tuesday and she listed it Tuesday morning, we were good to go.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. What else? What about,
I've got one.
go ahead.
So you go to the listing appointment and you've got your CMAs or CMA, and the property just doesn't live up to your expectation. You had, something fixed in your head, and you go inside and the interior is a wreck.
yeah,
How do you respond? You're there with the owner, and the price that you've got to change your price, and tell this person, oh well, we can't sell it for what you were thinking, not even what I was thinking, what the inventory, all of the comps, everything is really nice, and we can't say, I don't want to say what you have is going to require some work.
Yeah, but you have the comps printed, right? For each individual listing, and with that comes pictures. I would just throw them away. I would just put it out there, like, this is why the price is different. And you give them an option. You either make certain repairs that bring you up to the same level of the ones that previously sold for this price, or you understand and accept that you're gonna sell at a lower price.
yeah, just an honest conversation with them.
Yeah. Or if you list it where the other sold, you're gonna have to anticipate the offers are gonna come in and they're either gonna be reduced because of the difference, or you're gonna have to offer an allowance for them to make the repairs.
Yeah, or say this is what price we're gonna be at, and the reason we're gonna stay at this price is because here are pictures of our competition, or what is just sold.
And if there's something else on the market currently, go take them in there.
Yeah, preview it. Yeah, I've done that before.
Walk their asses in there and
That's
say,
right.
see for yourself.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. This is 325.
I've
Tell
had
me
things
if
like
you
that
think
get me in trouble though, because they haven't sold yet. They're on the market still, and they might be overpriced going, well, not necessarily taking them there, but they'll say, well, the house up the street listed at 285.
Let's go look at
Well,
it.
it's listed, it hasn't sold.
Mhm.
So you're comparing an apple to an orange. I'm comparing what the market is suggesting it should be at a closed value, not what it is at a listed.
What do you
value.
take in your CMAs? Are you taking sold properties in, or are you taking active
I
properties?
take 3 sold and then 1 active, because the active is not really, it's not closed. It's not any valid,
Right.
to what the market is, because it's still currently on the market.
I'll take
What do
some endings also, just to show them, like, this one went under contract yesterday, but it was on the market 45 days before that, and it reduced the price 2 times, and then they finally got an offer.
Yeah,
right.
So they see a sign in their neighbor's yard. They don't know that it's under contract, but they're going to ask you about it. So you want to be able to show them, okay, that's the one that's under contract. Hasn't closed yet. I can let you know when it closes what it sold for, but this is the story of what happened before it went under contract. And if they would have priced it right here in the beginning where I'm telling you to price yours, it would have sold right away. And they would have had to make that extra mortgage payment and insurance payment and all that other stuff.
Oh, I love that.
yeah.
I love bringing in those extra payments.
Sarah, do you take active listings too?
I'll take an active or I'll take 1 or 2 actives if it's actually an active competition, so that I can show them this is what you're competing with. when somebody looks at your house, they're also going to be looking at this house. So you either want to look better or your price wants to be
That's
better.
better. Yep. That's right.
And on the condition note, Rebecca, this is something that I always say in my listing appointments. I said it last night when I went on a listing appointment with Alex. We will make an extensive list of things that you need to do to your home. However, it's whatever is within your budget and your time frame for what you decide to do. Give you a whole list of everything you can do. You decide what you want to do. The more you do, the better off you are. The less you do, the harder it's going to be to sell your home and the lower your offers are going to be. But you control that. So it's the ball in their court, but with your professional opinion and advice at the same time.
Gosh, I love me some Sarah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Aaron.
Yep. Yep. It's perfect. Anything else regarding listings?
One of my favorite things to say is get it right to ice. Basically, that's all you're trying to do with buyers when you're talking to them, because they already have a negative sort of idea of a real estate agent because somebody's already failed them.
That's why I always say the market failed you.
So for
What's
me, I always love to break the ice that what that agent do. He just did the 3 Ps, put a sign in the yard, put it on the MLS and prayed somebody else sold it. And then they always laugh. And then it just kind of like, you know, I'm not trying to dog the other agent. And then they'll tell you everything the agent didn't do.
Yep.
And then that's where you figure out the motivation of what's going on. So try to like open up and like a little funny, because they're not happy. They're not going to be happy. And they're going to treat all real estate agents the same because that last agent failed.
Or, but what I've learned is they're so loyal to that agent that's not selling their house. They have nothing bad to say. They're Bubba's uncle's best friend from, you know, back in grade school, and they're going to relist with them.
That's right. That's what you have to watch for.
What do you guys do with
Related
those?
to 'em.
Still try to figure out the motivation.
Yeah. Me too. It's harder. It's more questions, and you have to be more delicate around it. But you have to point out to them, you guys might be kinfolk or whatever the deal is,
That's right.
but your house isn't getting sold.
That's right.
And always take it back to their pain point that you figure out through all the questions, and remind them you respect their loyalty to that agent. Yeah, exactly.
And that's why I've got a script here. It says, on a scale of 0 to 10, how motivated are you to, you know, sell? Well, what makes it that number? You know, you're trying to figure out why they have it. Oh, just a 5. Oh, so you don't have to be somewhere. I always ask, what would need to happen for it to be a 10 in order to sell it? And they're always going to say, give me the price. And I said, so if I did get you the price and that would be a 10, would you hire me today? If it's about just netting more money in your pocket. It's hard for them to say no to that. Unless you
like it.
talk about it.
I like it.
Corner am I?
All right, so what about language after you've closed a deal? What's your communication with your clients after your deal's closed, you got your commission check, you rang the bell, you did your boomerang? What's your what's your communication after that?
So there's a lot to follow up on after a closing. And this is where I know if any of y'all have ever taken any of my command classes or database classes or whatever, I always tell you to use your task list. And after a closing, we have a checklist of things we do. And one of those things is to add tasks to call them to remind them to file their homestead exemption.
I'm so glad you said that.
Another one is to put the expiration date of their termite bond in there to remind them to renew their termite bond. And sometimes that's a month away, sometimes that's 11 months away. So you're touching them far into the deal when they think you've forgotten about them. Another, maybe to renew the home warranty if they might want to renew the home warranty after the year. But just little touches. And then we'll also put birthdays in our database so we can touch them for their birthdays or anniversary or home anniversary. But use that task list to help yourself remember, because when you've got 50 closings in a year, you're not going to remember all of that. And you're on to bigger and better things. So use your database task list to help you manage that.
And the anniversary day of the sale, you would like.
Yeah.
That's all made it very.
And the beautiful thing about that is it shows them that even though the deal already closed, you got your commission check, you're not done servicing that client. You're still looking out for them. You're still doing things to help them be successful in their recently purchased home.
Right.
It's completely selfless. I love that. And you're still working for them.
I do, if they're doing, if it's something that they're gonna make a lot of like updates or remodel, like I had a buyer that I knew she was gonna tear up all the carpet and floors. Hey, I'd love to come by and look at the new floors, but just to check in, I mean, I did it today and she was like, oh my gosh, that's Lottie. And guess what? She's gonna be telling everybody she knows that their agent still comes and looks. Yeah,
Oh, she said, we'll have tea. That's you.
Yeah, you're repeat business.
Is there vodka in it?
Like babysit. Maybe.
Maybe that's her secret.
One thing I do is I don't go over a closing gift at the closing table. I do it like a week or two after, so that I get a pop into the house.
Oh, that's a good
So
trick.
that I see how it looks when they move their
Yeah.
furniture.
And
And
it's
it's
just
a
a
social need too.
Yes, yes, I love that. Does anybody, Sarah, do you do that?
Say it again. I couldn't quite hear it.
Aspen says she never takes her closing gift to the closing table. She waits a week or two after closing, so she kind of gets that pop by.
Oh, no, I like that. I take it to the closing table unless it's an out of town person, which we do a lot, and I'll send them some flowers or something like that.
That's a cool trick. I like that.
Yeah, they love to show you their house and show you everything they've done and put in there. And they're starting to get to
Or
know
all the boxes
neighbors
that are piled up.
I have a friend that's an agent that in Asheville and for the closing gift, and I'd never heard this, it might be something that's common. She would say, hey, invite 10 of your closest friends. I want to throw you a housewarming party. And she would cater it for like 10 people and pick up all kind of business there. I mean, she had her cards out, but she would get cater for
up,
those
that's a
barbecue,
cool
10
trick.
people, probably $10 a person, $100, and have a little housewarming party for them and pick up more business.
I like that. I've never heard that. Did you hear that, Sarah?
Nope, I'm having a hard time hearing a lot
I
of
know, that's the thing. that's
behind the
gets
camera.
Screaming. So Whitney said there's a girl at KW office in Asheville that she would offer to host a housewarming party. The agent would offer to host a housewarming party, maybe for up to 10 people after the closing.
Yeah, I have heard of that. And it's something that they mention at family reunion usually every year. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a great idea. And then I think, oh my gosh, that could cost so much money. So then I don't do it. But it is a great idea.
And it could get expensive. And the time to do it too.
I have-
But for some of them, it'd be great.
It's like just a wine taste. Like wine and cheese.
They get them drunk and then they.
Listening agreements with Come back home. Johnny, we're selling the house.
I have ordered pizza for people before though. Like if they're like, yeah, the moving truck's in the driveway. We've got a crew coming over to help us, all our friends. I've ordered pizza and had it delivered to the house so they didn't have to think about eating.
I've done that before. And if it's a vacant house, I've always, I don't know, this is gonna sound crazy.
I know what you're about to say.
Yeah. I always put a roll of toilet paper and a roll of paper towel.
And a shower curtain. Everybody forgets the shower curtain. And
And
it's
so it's there.
so
You
simple.
get to it. Yeah, because they move in, it's like they're loading stuff, they're like, oh my God, we don't have paper towel, we don't have toilet paper, or, you know, if they have a small
So
child,
fancy,
or maybe
so
not, but like, this is your photo on it.
Yeah.
Like a little
Your
basket,
face.
like an emergency little home kit. Yes, I used to have a little basket for all my buyers,
So
which,
cute.
that's awesome. Which is always, I
I've
love it.
actually been in that shower curtain situation with my kids.
Yeah.
So
See? Yeah.
Yeah.
Shower curtain. Yeah. I usually get just the little cheap ones, you know, they're not gonna keep them up there. They say you can take a shower.
But like that first night after you're like, I'm sweating, how like I'm like,
Yes.
Yeah.
Exhaust.
Yeah, bar soap.
Yeah.
It's perfect. A couple towels. You can do it up depending on how, it all depending on how big the house was, you can find from the basket.
Is this helpful?
Yes.
Is this better than sitting and reading a script? And I mean, we can do that too. Scripts, like I said, are important. They're important. But it's about the message you're trying to send.
It is, and I find the scripts, once you learn them and you've got them down pat, which I would have a really hard time with scripts. I talk too much to put the scripts in, to be totally honest with you. But if I'm with a buyer or a seller, or used to be, I'm not anymore. I wanted to know about them and wanted to be all about them. But I had the scripts in my head, so whenever they were asking questions, or I was getting ready to answer something, it just came natural and flowed out, and it didn't sound like just verbatim kind of thing. But it was given in a tone that's acceptable to them and fits the mood of what it is that they need.
Yeah.
So it's so important to know them.
Yeah, and mirror their tone, mirror
Yes.
their mood, mirror
Yes.
their personality. That's like one of the number one tricks to sales.
It is.
And
Very much so.
don't do like I used to do when I would not know an answer. I literally used to pretend like my phone would go out of service if I didn't know the answer to something.
Shut up.
And then like get on my computer and then call them back. Oh, my God, yeah, it's 1,943 square feet. And I was that bad. Like I wanted to know the answer to everything.
And it's so easy to say, I don't know the answer, but I'm gonna get it for you.
My coach said,
Yeah.
the best thing to do is when somebody asks you something you do not know, say, you know what, that's a really good question. And it gives your mind to like wrap around what you're thinking
Right.
about. And then if you still don't know it, say, I don't know.
Tanya says, I don't have an answer to that question, but I'll get that for you.
Yeah, I was having a conversation with JD before this, and he was like, "What's this?" And I was like, to be honest, I don't have the answer to that, but I'm gonna find out for you. Yeah. He goes, "How about next time you say exactly what you just said?" That's a really good question.
Because it's also
I mean,
like your-
was it? Just kidding.
yeah, it wasn't a good thing, sometimes they're not really good
I didn't know
questions.
the answer, so how good for that.
So
person.
the way that our mind works is when there's even 1 second of silence, we freak out as agents.
Yeah, we feel
because
like we
we
gotta
feel
go.
like we need to be talking constantly.
The magic is in the silence.
It's,
most of the time.
you're so right. It's really not as much as a silence break as you think it is. But it's okay because some people really are thinking, like when you ask them something and it gets silent. I know for me, I always feel really, really strange when I'm working FISBOs and I ask them where they're moving to, because that's a very personal question. Or why are you moving? And then like one day somebody's like, because so and so is cheating on me and they're leaving or whatever.
Yeah,
But then there's always a silence and you're always wondering like, oh my gosh, is that too personal to ask? They're just trying to think of a way to tell you. And you
Well,
still
the
like,
truth is, you have to get personal
Yeah.
with these people, and sometimes it's good to ask permission. To have your permission, you know, to get personal, or to talk about finances or whatever, and they'll give it to you.
and that made me just think to book that I ran from the art negotiations, maybe it is art negotiation. When you're talking to another agent, when you're trying to negotiate, ask them this simple question. Would it be ridiculous for me to ask for this? Because they're not going to insult you and say, yes, you're ridiculous. But it makes them think in a different way. Would it be ridiculous for us to ask $2,000 seller concession? You would, but you're a rare breed. You don't care. But it's like a really like having those little statements of asking people certain things that you're ridiculous for us to ask for a mortgage fee. And then it just kind of puts them into a perspective.
That's a good point. I'm just kidding.
She would say, yeah, you're ridiculous.
Yeah, you're ridiculous.
Yeah, interesting one yesterday. A question I didn't know the answer to. We got so the guy says, "Well, you must be new." So here's the question. So I thought it was an expired. I called the guy. He says, "No, I don't own that property." And it turns out he's actually renting. So, for long story about why his name was up. Anyway, he says it's owned by George Marvin. He says, "You know George, right?" Like, no, I don't know who George. Well, he owns more land in Alabama than he does.
Yeah.
So he,
I got
so
a
then,
picture.
the interesting thing that came out of that is he says, "Well, I own the land next door." He said, "I own the lot next door and I'm about to build on it. What do you think it's worth?" And I said, "Well, no, then I have to do a little research, actually did some research." And the interesting thing was property tax records showed his property as being the property he's renting, George Barber. It had that as the address of what
Tax
his
records were
his
wrong.
lot. And it also showed that he had a pier and a dock and all this other stuff. I called the guy and I said, "So I'm looking at satellite views of your property. You don't have a pier, do you?" "No, no." "Do you have a deck?" "No, I don't have a deck." I said, "You're paying tax on it."
Yeah.
And he
Yeah,
said,
what about bringing
"Really?"
value to the buyer?
So
Yeah.
he says, "All right." I said, "Well, let's get in touch with the county and see about getting your stuff changed." He said, he said, "I'm thinking about it." He said, "I'm really heavily invested in Bitcoin, but I'm thinking about moving that to real estate. I need a real." Right.
And
Hey.
you call it true value to him, they'll remember that.
Yeah, okay.
You're gonna save some money.
That's what it's about. That's the language of real estate.
That's it.
Yep. Bring true value to them, not yourself.
Okay.
I'm reading a book right now, it's building a story brand. And basically, when Benchmark, Apple, Coke, all of these companies are great at marketing. They don't ever talk about their own company. They always talk about what they're, like, who they're selling it to, their audience. They always make it about them. They don't ever really make it about, oh, this is what I've got. It's always
And that's real estate. It's nothing. And if I go into a listing appointment, or God forbid, I was working with a buyer. Just saying. I always knew it was never about me. It was always about them and what I bring to them, because I was in the service oriented business. So it was always about my client at the time. Had nothing to do with me at all. What I knew or what I didn't know, it's what they needed.
My watch just reminded me I'm being lazy and need to stand up. That ticks me off.
Yeah, no.
All right, we're gonna wrap up, but I wanna invite Whitney up here with Cutco. I'm sure you all know Whitney. I feel like she's part of our family. Thanks for providing lunch, Whitney.
Absolutely.
So good to see you. I feel like it's
Good
been
to
forever.
I know, and hey, I'm loving that I'm getting to see you guys like in person and this whole like inception we've got going on with video. I don't know if I should look at you guys or look at you, like. So, thank y'all for having me today, and thank you guys for being here and being on Zoom. I love that you guys were talking through like different things in real estate. And one of the things that really resonated with me was how to stay in touch with your clients after the closing table, because that's something that we deal with a lot with Cutco closing guests. So while I'm talking today, I may ask you guys like questions. And if you guys want to interact with me or shout out answers, or if you guys want to like type in the chat box or shout out answers, feel free to do that. But I'll go ahead and get started with this scary statistic. So 90% of homeowners said that they would reuse their real estate agent again. But do you guys know what percent actually come back to them after closing? Y'all have any guesses?
20.
13%. So it becomes a game of like, I think her name was Sally, or he may have had dark hair. And in an industry where repeat business and referrals are so important, so many agents are missing out on a ton of business. But the good news is we can help. So what we do is we take something that you guys are already doing, who in here gives a closing gift, and we just take it to the next level. So with most closing gifts, like bottles of wine, gift baskets, gift cards, what usually happens 2 years after you've given those things? Right, like they throw them out, they're gone, they eat them, they drink them, they spend it, or it's over in a corner collecting what? Dust. So what we do is we take something y'all are already doing, we just take it to the next level, because we feel like a closing gift shouldn't be something that gives an impression that lasts for you for a couple weeks or a couple months, but something that's guaranteed to work for your business into the next decade. And that's what makes this the best closing gift option. Now, by show of hands, who here's familiar with Cutco and ever used us, owns it? Awesome. How long have y'all had it for? 18 years? 18 years. That is awesome. 10. Awesome. So for those of y'all who may not be as familiar with us, we're an American-made company, been around since the 40s. Everything is guaranteed forever. So what we'll do is if anything needs to be sharpened, fixed, replaced, we'll literally send somebody straight out to the house, or you can send it off to the factory and they'll do that totally for free. But what we do is we engrave our product, and I'll show this so y'all can see it up closer and you guys can see it, with your name, phone number, and logo. So it turns that one-time gift into a long-term branding tool. Now we have found that the average person uses a knife 4 times during the week. That's over 200 passive touches that your information's gotten in a year. And I can guarantee you in 5 years, they're still going to remember who you are. Now, not only is it great for client retention, but referral generation. I had an agent who's been using Cutco closing gifts for the past 3 years call me on Friday. And she said, hey, she was like, I got your email, but she was like, I wanted to call you and reorder some closing gifts, because she said, actually, what made me think of you wasn't even the email you sent me. And I was like, oh, really? She's like, yeah, that one's my spam folder. I was like, great, I need to get that fixed. But she was like, I had a customer call me this week off of my knife. She was like, Lillian, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I lost your phone number, but I'm so glad you gave me that awesome Cutco knife. because I have a referral for you. So it's also a great referral tool when friends and family are looking to buy or sell. This is the conversation piece. But being a business owner, taxes, they're always a point of concern. So who in here can tell me what the IRS typically allows you guys to deduct off of your client appreciation gifts? $25. The great thing about Cutco is because it's branded and it's engraved with your information, it's actually filed under marketing, so it's 100% tax deductible. We found that most agents were spending anywhere between $50 to $150 anyways. So this way you're able to deduct the full amount of what you spent. And our average price point for our gifts, they start at 65. We've got like under 100, we've got over 100, and they go up to about 230. Unless you're looking for luxury gifts, and they can get pricier. But that's like our average price point. So what we do is we feel like we want to help you guys create an easy system in place. So a lot of the agents who order with us, they'll go ahead and order for half a year to a full year because we do quantity discounts. So say that you were going to do 30 sales this year. You could go ahead and order for the next 6 months, go ahead and get 15, and we'll split that out to 6 payments for you, no interest or anything like that. But your gifts are there ready to grab and go when you need them. If you wanted to order for the whole year, you can order 30. We'll split that across 12 months. And then same thing, your gifts are there ready to grab and go, and you get the quantity discounts. So I'm going to pass these around so y'all can see them up close. Now I know that you guys can't physically touch them on the computer, but I'll show the ones that I'm passing around to you guys. Now, please be careful. Cutco is sharp. We get a bleeder about once a month. It's always the guy in the room. Don't be that guy. not pointing fingers at you. But usually there's more guys in the room, so it's like, you know, guys point out. I know, lady power. I love that. And guy power. I love that too. But what I'm also going to do is if you guys want more information, you want pricing, you want me to follow up with you, if you're in this room and have your business card, I'm actually going to pass around like a box lid that you can take your card, put your card into the box lid if that comes around. And for you guys who are online, or if you didn't bring your business card, but you have your handy dandy handheld computer, I'm going to give you guys my cell phone number so that you can text me your name and your email. That way I know to follow up with you for more information. And that number is 662-422-0262. And yes, I have a weird Mississippi number. So that is 662-422-0262. And I'm going to pass these around. And also, I'll stick around for a little bit after the meeting. But for anybody who orders this week, I always like to reward you guys for taking action now. If you do order Cutco closing gifts for this week, I will actually include an additional $150 in free Cutco onto your order. So thank you guys so much. I'll pass this over here. And I look forward, I see some new faces. I look forward to meeting you guys after the meeting. And we always use like these magnetic gift boxes now. I just have this old gift box for the business cards with me. So thank y'all so much. And thank you guys. I love that I see some familiar faces. Like Sarah.
I like the red.
Yeah, so you just pick and choose like a people color.
Good to see your face.
I know, it's great to see you.
No,
I
no,
can see your little headshot, which is awesome.
Yeah, I'm not
Thank you so
for
much.
record today, so I put that in there.
Love it. Love it. Here you go. Thank you so much. Did you get to see this one?